Hello world, Ocean Master here, and here to talk about a really important subject matter that a lot of people are not aware of or choose to ignore. And this has to do with male suicide. Um, Subject matter that a lot of people are very comfortable in talking about, especially in the current feminist and gynocentric world that we live in. But thanks to the awareness of a very smart man who's been in the manosphere for quite some time, by Paul Elam and Ear for Men, um, made me aware of a very important statistic that happens. Every 22 seconds, a man takes his life. That means that every 66 seconds, three men have already committed suicide within the time that we're talking at this point. 198 seconds from that point on, and it's incredible. So within 60 minutes, 180 men have taken their lives. It times that by 24 hours, that's 4,230 men a day. It is an atrocious and reprehensible aspect of life, but it's nothing new. It's something that's occurred well within the last 100 years. That these statistics have not really changed very much, and it's something that really needs to be talked about. So we're gonna hit it. So within the way that the current society that we currently live in, a lot of the current psychological reformations and complexities and dynamics and how to be able to deal with people who have suicidal tendencies are geared towards more of women than they are men. Um, and while suicide on both sides of the frame is in an atrocity, it just is, and it should be stamped out. But it isn't, because we're ignoring that fact that with such a massive epidemic that happens within our current society, we have completely brushed it under the rug. And the American Psychological Association is doing nothing about it. If a man has issues psychologically, the premise of who we are as hunter-gatherers and for providing for the family, and once that's been stripped, the man feels that he has no purpose or no sense of life. And from the feminist perspective, or from women's perspective, gynocentric world, why doesn't the man just, open up? Well, men don't think that way. That's not how we um, think. That's not how we process information. Because if you see a grown man try to shed tears in public, people cringe. They wrench away from it, and it's something that needs to be looked into, not ignored. So, if you're listening to this message, if you are a man who is going through a hard time, who is facing a situation of trying to find your purpose in life, you have purpose, you have meaning, your life does have significance outside of the societal standards and morals and aspects of what's expected of you. You have a destiny to achieve greatness, and you can do it. And you're not alone. You're not facing things alone. And if you need help, there is a group of men who can help you. Um, Paul Elam is one of them. You can contact, or you look up his information at An Ear for Men on YouTube. That's all you got to do is type that in, or type in Paul Elam, Paulelam, and it'll really help man or young men or men in general in direction in this regard. So, with this in mind, we need to try to develop a way of being able to help men who are suffering in today's society, who are suffering through these gynocentric views and imposed upon diluted terms that strip them from their purpose of being a man. Um, and that how the initiatory rites of how a man goes from adolescent into adult is almost non existent now. They don't understand what and how to be able to have the rites of passage, to be able to understand how to grow up and to develop into a man without it being considered to be taboo in our society. Um, and there is a way to do it. We need to have initiatory rites of being able to teach young men how to be able to constructively use their aggressive tendencies for the betterment of society. And I'm not talking about through some feminist harebrained scheme. Because if a man goes to a psychologist, they're gonna try to use CBC or cognitive behavioral recreation therapy, and it is uh, a technique that is more about being able to express and open up your feelings. Men do not think that way. It is not effective. So when you have an effeminate, multi-billion-dollar psychological corporation that is faced off of pharmacological drugs for psychotropics for men and trying to control them, and to create even worse depression, it is something that they don't want you to know. And this information is realistic. It is not made up statistic. I'm not pulling facts out of my ass. It's real. It's legitimate, but it's been swept under the rug. And a lot of male therapists and even female therapists use this propulsion from the leftist movement and feminist movement to try to berate men from trying to be able to be what they are, and to be able to have men who are understanding in their thought processes, because there's a big difference between male and female psychology. It's been proven um, that our thought processes or our psychological aspects are very different in how we process information emotionally and psychologically speaking. And we need to be able to create a system of psychology that will help men to be able to um, find purpose and meaning in their lives outside of just the basic societal standards and norms. Just simply having a man try to talk about his feelings is not going to solve the problem. That's not how men deal with things. Usually how we deal with things is that we will close off and become more in solitude, and soul searching and trying to find purpose. But there are men, wise men, who are capable of helping to lead other men who are lost or going through difficulties and trivialities with their wisdom, who have led a life prior to any of this nonsense, or even during the nonsense of the feminist movement, and still were men, are able to maintain that their purpose and their motivations and modus operandis in life. So let's take this into consideration. Hashtag save men's lives. I'm going to put it down below. And if you're a psychologist, and you're well aware of this, I'm sure, open up your mind. Don't be stupid. Understand that the feminist approach to a man trying to solve his problems is not going to work, and that you need to explore the other realms of the works of Carl Jung, um, Abraham Maslow, and Feldenkrais, and other such individuals who were explorative in developmental therapies of psycho-body therapy and other therapies that will help people, especially men, to overcome these terrible travesties that they face of their purpose being denied of who they truly are, and it being considered a toxic boon on society. Anyways, this is Joshin Master. Don't be stupid. Question all things and use wisdom. And I'll send some information down below where you, if you are struggling with this, or you are a man who's having situations or problems, of where you can find help. And remember, you have purpose, you have meaning, and your life has significance. Rock on and lead your life, and be excellent.